Alrighty guys, so what's going on? Welcome back to another YouTube video. So first off, I want to say I really wanted to make a YouTube video yesterday, but I wasn't around, and I really wanted to make one the day before that, and I wasn't around. So sorry about the delayed update to the series. So let's get going, jump right back into it. So last time we just had this field where we could put in a name and click send, and absolutely nothing happens. So that's really dumb and lame. So let's get going and actually build something cool. So normally we'd actually want to be doing stuff in our our index.js file, because that's for the correct routing, but just because we're making a dumbed down version, we'll just be doing it all in our app.js file. So the first thing we're going to actually want to do is connect to a MongoDB database. So we're going to do var users db equals mongoose, which we had already defined up here as requiring mongoose, mongoose.create connection, and then what we're going to want to connect to is actually MongoDB /localhost/ and then in my case I'm just going to do start mongoose -users. That's just because I have a lot of MongoDB databases, so I just want to make it very distinguished with the start mongoose. But in your guys' case, you could just have /users if you guys have never used MongoDB before, and mongoose. So the next thing we're actually going to want to add is create schemas for storing the data. So we're going to do var user schema equals mongoose.schema. New mongoose.schema. Sorry, I'm forgetting everything. And then inside of here, we're just going to pass in one thing, the name, and that's just going to be a string. But in your guys' case, if you guys were having more and more different form fields and more data that needs to be stored, you could maybe also have an email property, and then that could also be a string, and then you could do a bunch of different other things. So for now, though, we're just going to be storing a string since we only have one data field. So then the next thing that actually we're going to do is create the job, or sorry, not the job, the user from it. So we're going to do var user equals users db dot model, and then we're going to call that user, and then it's going to go from the user schema. So then at that point everything should be looking pretty nice. So then the next thing we're going to do is just run an app.get, or sorry, not app.get, app.use function. So app.use is basically, it requires a middleware. In our case, the middleware that we're going to be using is Mongoose, which we can see up here. So in app.use, we're going to make the API call for it, API/add user. And so then inside here, the function, it's going to take a function, obviously with a request, response, and then a next function. And then inside of here, this is where actually all the meat of the code that's going to go to store the users into the database. So let's first off, just to make sure we're getting the right stuff, we're going to console log the rec.body.name. So basically what rec.body is we can tell it's the request, and then the body is just the content that it's sending. And so then we're console logging the name, which is the name that we will be sending here. So then down here we can do var, let's just call it new user equals new user, and then the user, which we already defined here, here, and then inside of here the name is going to be equal to rec.body.name. Awesome. So then we're going to do new user.save. So, and then inside of here, save, we're just going to do function, and then if there's an error, and then it's just going to respond with the new user. And then inside of here, the new user, well, let's actually just check for an error. So if there's an error, let's just return it, and we'll return console.log, and we'll error it, or we'll console log the error. And then if there's no error, we'll console log the new user. Awesome. So that's what we got going so far on the back end, or the the back end side of things. So let's go over to the more front end with the AngularJS and start testing around with a few things. So let's do scope, because since we had a scope.send post, so we're going to do scope.send, two D's, function post, and then inside of here, this is where we're actually going to do the request. So if you guys don't know how to do requests with Angular, it's pretty simple. So actually the first thing we're going to have to do is require the HTTP module, or the dependency, and then the HTTP over here as well. And so then what we're going to be doing is http.post, and then our URL for it will be http://localhost:3000/API/add user. Pretty long, huh? So then the data that we're actually going to be wanting to send will be, we will create that. So var data equals, we'll just make that an object, and then we'll have name equals post.name, and so then we'll send that along as well. So data, and so then we'll just have a success callback. So if everything works and everything is successful, console.log, and we'll just have it say success. But then if there's an error, well, we can just copy that, and we actually don't want that semicolon. We'll console log error. Alright, so that's starting to look pretty good, if I do say so myself. Let's test this out. I'm sure we're going to run into problems, just because nothing ever works right off from the bat. So let's run the page, let's try testing my name, and let's send it. Alright, so let's see what's going on here. So it's actually able to send it, add it to the user DB, so actually that's looking pretty good. So then at this point, I think the only other thing that's making it so it doesn't say that there's a success is that we need to make it so that it ends up actually ending the function. So let's just make sure that works. Awesome. So I think that's pretty much it. And let's just try again with like a different user, Bob. Awesome. So then we're able to get Bob as well. Awesome. So I think that's about it for this video. Next video we're actually going to be able to get all the users, and then we can display them in a long list. And then we can also add more functionality like a description and those sorts of things. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.